Okay, you're on the air.
All right, folks, we're in for an exciting game today. Here we are in the third round of the finals of the Arimaa World Championship. The field has been reduced to 6 players. One more player will be eliminated today in this game. It's a double elimination tournament format, and today we have Tuks versus chessandgo. Chessandgo is the number 3 seed in the finals, and Tuks is the number 5 seed. However, while the seeding for Tuks, number 5, indicates his ranking, his rating, chessandgo is the number 1 rated player in the world and the defending 2009 Arimaa World Champion. Chessandgo is number 1 by a long shot, so this would be quite an upset if we're able to pull it off. These two players played 16 times before, and in 16 matchups, chessandgo has won all 16. However, in the last round when chessandgo played in the first round of the finals, chessandgo played the number 6 seed and was given the scare of his life. The J, having compiled an 0-15 record against chessandgo, nearly won in his 16th try. Here we have almost the same situation. Now chessandgo is facing the number 5 seed instead of the number 6 seed. Tuks has never won, but I'm expecting a very exciting game. Tuks, like the J, is still young and still improving very rapidly. It's scary for me, being old and one of the top players, to see young players coming up, getting good, studying, getting better year by year. The players are now seated at the table. Tuks has the gold pieces. We're not really sure in Arimaa whether gold or silver has the advantage. I've come to like playing silver better than I like playing gold. When I set up as gold, I'm not sure what to do because I'm not sure how silver is going to set up. And however I set up as gold, silver has the opportunity to react, to adjust his setup on the basis of how I set up. In particular, I've come to like setting up my camel on one wing and both of my horses on the other wing. However, when I do that as gold, silver can, in his setup, immediately react, keeping his horses away from my camel and putting his camel opposite my horses. So we'll see. The clock has started ticking. The players are beginning. We'll see whether Tuks puts his camel in the middle or on the edge, as has become the fashion. Tuks is one of few players who, in the top ranks, who open 2 rabbits forward behind the traps. Most of the people who open with 2 rabbits forward put them on the edges, on the A and H files, rather than on C2 and F2. And here we have Tuks with his camel on the flank and both horses on the other flank. So we can pretty much count on chessandgo to put his camel opposite both of Tuks's horses. Probably chessandgo will put his camel on the G file. He has a little bit more opportunity to decide where is he going to put his horses. He probably won't put both of his horses opposite Tuks's camel because he's going to use the knowledge of where Tuks's camel is to set up probably with 1 horse on each side. 1 horse to help attack C3 and 1 horse over to help defend the F6 trap against Tuks's setup. It'll be very interesting. In the round 2, chessandgo chose the strategy of attacking the camel trap with his elephant. That is, in round 2, when I set up with my camel on one wing and both of my horses on the other wing, chessandgo immediately used his elephant to attack my camel wing, trying to make sure that the fight was on my camel side. He wanted the fight to be where my camel was, not to be on the side where my 2 horses were. And if he's going to do that again in this game, he probably needs a horse on the B file or the C file to help him with his attack against the C3 square. But he also kind of got burned with that strategy, so he may decide that this time he would rather not attack the camel trap and make the fight on the other side. He's also had reasonable success using an elephant, camel, and horse against the wing where the other player has elephant, horse, and horse. If he has elephant, camel, and horse against elephant, horse, and horse, should have the slight advantage, theoretically. He should be doing just fine in that situation.
Karl, did you get
chess and go set up? To avoid that situation is that if there's a big elephant deadlock on the wing where he has the advantage, if, say, on the eastern wing, we have elephant, horse, horse for Tuks, and elephant, camel, horse for chess and go, then the elephants will very likely get into some kind of deadlock on that wing, and that will leave the gold camel free to operate in the west. Then gold will have the strongest free piece in the west. But opening theory is still so undeveloped that that could well be a reasonable strategy. We don't know that actually that's a winning position for gold. I have never seen chess and go take this long to set up his pieces.
Karl, I was just going to say, you might need to reload the client because we're already into like move 3G.
Okay, I just got move 3G on my board. Little technical difficulties here. Okay, so now we're waiting for move 4G. I see that Tuks immediately attacked and pulled out the silver cat. And Chess and Go considered this a big enough threat to abandon his attack in the west, to immediately come and protect his cat. I think this is a wise decision on his part, and now we have to see what Tuks wants to do. Tuks is not in a position to do an elephant-horse attack in the eastern wing. The silver camel protecting the eastern wing would just mean that an elephant-horse attack would be essentially giving up a gold horse to the silver camel. So Tuks really can't do that. What Tuks wants to do here is he does want to have an elephant deadlock. He wants an elephant deadlock over on the eastern wing in order to free his camel in the west. So his camel will be the strongest free piece. But wow, Tuks is here already shifting gears. Tuks has already moved one of his horses that he set up over on the eastern wing, moved one of his horses to the center, away from Chess and Go's camel. The idea here probably is he's eyeing that dog on b6. Silver is protecting the c6 trap with two dogs, including a dog on c6. And Tuks would like to get a gold horse over there to attack b6. Say, I can attack with just a horse over there because it's just a dog defending it. He could, of course, go into b6 with his camel, but he probably doesn't want to give up a camel hostage when he doesn't have the supporting cask. He'd be very happy to give up a horse hostage on that side. So an elephant-horse attack would work for gold in the west. Elephant-horse attack would not work for gold in the east, where the silver camel is waiting. And so Tuks is just saying, you know, whatever I was planning when I set up my pieces, I'm going to have to abandon that plan now that I see silver set up. I'm going to change to a new plan. Perfectly reasonable thing for gold to do, but it is kind of admitting that, hey, that silver setting up second really cost me a lot of time. I've got to move one of my horses all the way from this side clear over to the other side, and maybe I'm just slow here. And I am not at all surprised that Chess and Go on move 4S has decided to advance a horse immediately in the east. Now, the idea behind advancing a horse is an elephant-horse attack or to pull out a rabbit with the advanced horse. Why would you not do an elephant-horse attack? Just exactly for the reason that I said gold didn't want to do an eastern elephant-horse attack. The reason gold didn't want to do an eastern elephant-horse attack was that the silver camel was waiting. The whole idea behind setting up two horses on the same wing is to give another reason to avoid the elephant-horse attack, and that is the horse will be taken hostage. Elephant-horse attack into the face of two horses. Those two horses can potentially frame the attacking horse. But now that Tuks has moved his horse away into the middle and moved it even further away on 5G, now he's completing his switch of a horse over to the western side. Now silver can advance a horse on the eastern side essentially without fear. So on 5S, we're almost certainly going to see the continued advance of the silver horse. And what we could end up with is an extremely exciting racing position where it's an elephant-horse attack on each opposite wing. That is, gold is trying to get an elephant-horse attack going in the northwest. Silver is trying to get an elephant-horse attack going in the southeast. And it's whoever attack launches sooner is going to be in better shape. I have to say that in the race, as I look at it in the race, silver seems to be a little bit ahead in the race for getting an elephant-horse attack going because he has his horse forward because of silver's move. The reason that silver might seem a little bit behind in the elephant-horse attack is because he doesn't have a horse on B6. So the gold horse can just push its way all the way into B6, and silver would take several moves to stop that from happening. So silver is probably going to just want to say, I'm going to attack as fast as I can, rather than taking 4 steps to defend the B4 trap. And I'm going to take advantage of the fact, silver is thinking, that cat that gold pulled out is going to be one of my attackers. Wow. Okay, so 5S is in, silver has moved, and he had a problem that his horse couldn't get right into the G3 square. So unlike gold, his horse can push straight into the B6 square because only a dog there, the silver horse could not push straight into the G3 square. So what we had is a camel advance. I'm expecting that to be so forcing that gold will have to retreat his elephant. Gold likes his elephant sitting there on the E6 square because that's right in position to make the elephant horse attack. And silver must have calculated, chessandgo must have calculated, the elephant horse attack is going to get there sooner than my elephant horse attack. The gold elephant horse attack can take over B6 and D6 faster than I can take over E3 and G3 with my elephant and horse. So I need to bring my camel into it. Now the typical reason why you don't bring the camel in, why doesn't everybody do an elephant-camel attack, is because they don't want to give up that camel hostage. They don't want to give it up as a hostage too early in the war. They only want to give it up hostage as part of the swarm. But chessandgo has cut off the gold elephant from the middle. The gold elephant cannot directly go to get the silver camel. It has to come around the silver elephant, wasting a couple of steps. And Tuks did indeed see this attack as being quite forcing. Now silver would love to use the silver camel to pull out the gold horse and then take over the G3 square with the silver horse, but that would take 5 steps. So here on 6S, silver cannot do his dream move of getting control of G3, and now the silver elephant is blocked out of, well, to get to its square, it would like to be on the E3 square, the silver elephant would, but now it would take 4 steps for the silver elephant to get to the E3 square. The main consolation that chessandgo has here from this exchange is that now gold cannot do an elephant-horse attack. So gold has basically called off the elephant-horse attack with the idea your elephant-camel attack was too forcing. Your elephant-camel attack was so forcing, I had to put my counterattack plans on hold in order to stop your plans. So I expect from silver here on 6S, he might put the elephant in F4 just to keep his elephant separated from the gold elephant. With the silver elephant on F4, the gold elephant might have to come all the way around into the G3 square. Oh, 6S, silver just pulls the gold horse twice. This is kind of a cop-out move because the gold elephant can push its way into the F5 square and retreat the gold horse. And gold does it immediately, taking only 13 seconds to think about his move. Obviously, Tuks evaluated that he was in trouble with the attack and is happy to be able to bail out. And now what silver would like to do is he'd like to take advantage of this situation to put the silver horse into the G3 square. But if he did, it would be hanging there. The gold elephant could just jump into F3 and then pull the silver horse in there. So he can't take over the the G3 square like he wanted to. Interesting move for 7S. I did not see it. chess and go was way ahead of me. I thought gold was going to be able to bail out of this attack, but it turns out that he can't bail out. The silver elephant was able to take the gold horse hostage, a very nice position. It looks like in the very next move, he'll be able to flip the gold horse to either the G7 square or the H6 square with a good hostage position for the gold horse. Also, the gold rabbit on F2 is hanging, so gold will have to spend on move 8. Tuks will need one move to defend the rabbit hanging on F3, and then he has 3 other moves, and he really has no other choice. To me, it looks like strategically, his only other choice is counterattack. That is to say that he can't stop his horse from being taken hostage, he can't stop it from being put in a nice position, but he can revive his attack on the C6 square by putting his the gold horse on the B5 square. I say that's his only option, but of course there are always options. The typical counter maneuver when one is faced with the opposing camel holding your horse hostage in the position that chess and go has created, the typical strategic counter maneuver is to get the gold camel over to pull out the linchpin horse. The silver horse on the H5 square is necessary to create a stable hostage position. If gold is going to take what silver wants to do here is consolidate his hostage position. He wants to get that gold horse hostage with the silver camel and then get his elephant free. So get the position stable enough so that the gold elephant can come free. And Tuks has chosen the counterattack. It used one step on move 8 to protect his F2 rabbit. And I like the move that he chose. He could have moved his F2 rabbit sideways to G2, but advancing is a little bit more aggressive. It gives a little bit more help to the F3 trap. Maybe eventually that rabbit could come up and help unfreeze the gold horse or something like that. So I like the step he chose on defense, and then 3 on offense. Now we had an interesting situation where when chess and go played the J, chess and go engineered a frame on an opposing trap. On one of the J's traps, chess and go framed a horse and freed his elephant from the frame. And then by the time his elephant was free, there was already such a rollicking attack going on the other trap that he couldn't stop the opposing attack. The J had such a good attack, it took so long for the chess and go's elephant to come free that the attack was well underway on the other side. Now here, we may have a similar situation, but no, chess and go, before consolidating his hostage position, decides that he wants to keep the gold horse out of the B6 square. I approve of the defensive move. It seems like a good idea to stop that situation. I expect now Tuks just has to attack full bore, continue to attack. The only way he's going to get an attack on the C6 square is with his camel. So he needs to spend 2 steps getting his camel up to B5, 1 step getting the horse out of the way. The most aggressive move would be to move the horse out of the way to the C5 square. That looks a little dangerous to move the horse to the C5 square because it's hanging there, could be pushed in by the silver elephant if the silver elephant changed sides. But gold is in a big, big hurry. If gold does not get an attack going really, really soon, then he's just down a hostage. The other thing, again, he still has a strategy on move 9. He could say, rather than advancing my camel, rather than gambling everything on a counterattack to give me some compensation for my horse having been taken hostage, rather than gambling everything on a counterattack, my camel can still cross. I could take 4 moves to get my camel over to the F3 square, 4 steps, and I'll just make the fight on that side. Okay, I'm a little bit behind. It's a problem. But with my camel over on the other side, I could do some kind of swarming attack. The silver elephant would not be able to cross wings. It wouldn't be obvious how silver was going to convert his advantage. And in the west, the camel will have abandoned the west. Okay, it's a problem that I've abandoned the west. But so what? it'll be just horse versus horse on that side. So maybe it's less of a disadvantage if I cross wings now on 9G with my camel and fight there. Okay, my horse is in a bad position, but how can silver take advantage of my horse being in a bad position as long as my camel is on that wing? And with my camel on that wing, if the silver elephant just stays there and doesn't cross wings, then I have a legitimate swarming attack. Wow, Tuks chose a move that really surprises me on 9G. He pulled his horse all the way up to the E7 square, and this is a really exciting move. One of the things that is typical of Tuks' play is he tends to get in a little bit of trouble in the opening, and he loses the opening most games, even against players that are lower ranked than he is. And then once he gets in trouble, he fights like a tiger. And here we've already seen it complicating the position. Normally a horse advance up the middle is suicide. If you get a horse stuck up there on E7, then it's going to get forked between the two enemy traps. It can be threatened both with capture in the C6 trap and with capture in the F6 trap. So you don't want to put your horse there. But if you look at the current position, wait, how is that going to happen? How is that going to get forked? Because neither the silver camel nor the silver elephant can come after that horse. There are only two pieces that can sit on the gold horse, and the silver camel and the silver elephant are both busy. Here, probably, my gut reaction, I haven't worked out the tactics, but on move 9S, my gut reaction is that silver has to abandon the horse hostage that he was trying to take with his elephant and go after the gold horse with his elephant. As I was saying that, I realized that's 5 steps. The silver elephant is 5 steps away. He can't take the gold horse hostage, and if he doesn't take the gold horse hostage, the horse can at least push its way into C7. So Chessandgo's instinct agreed with mine. He said, I have to abandon this in order to deal with this encroaching horse. But now Tuks can use 2 steps on move 10G, 2 steps to push his horse into C7, 2 steps to retreat his own horse, and all of a sudden his position has turned around dramatically from being in big trouble to having a very playable position. I'm very impressed with Tuks' ingenuity here to have a counterattack that at least forced Chessandgo to respond. It's been a very wild and woolly opening already, and we're only on move 10. So here, I don't know what Tuks is thinking about. To me, it looks like he has exactly one move and one move only. All 4 steps are mandatory. 2 steps to push the gold horse into the C6 trap. Sorry, push the gold horse into the C7 square, putting the dog into C6. That creates a threat. That gold horse is soon going to be threatened with capture by the silver elephant. So when the silver elephant is threatening to capture the gold horse, the gold elephant is going to have to defend the gold horse. Well, when that happens, the eastern wing had better be shored up a little bit. So the gold horse in the east needs to retreat to free up the gold elephant to participate in the elephant horse attack. But Tuks has taken over 90 seconds. This gives me the opportunity to thank our sponsors for the World Championship, Z-Man Games and Board Games for Us, sellers of fine games. Z-Man Games is the publisher of Arimaa, and it shows what a foresightful man Z-Man is, that before Arimaa hit the big time, he could realize that it was a big game and wanted to manufacture it. So the fact that Tuks is taking so long to think about this move makes me wonder whether I'm not seeing some tactics. Is he contemplating making a dive with his camel to bring his camel into the B6 square? Is he looking at getting his horse not just into C7, but getting his horse all the way over to B7? If he gets his horse all the way over to B7, it's a lot harder for the silver elephant to take it. What I would be afraid of is if the gold horse now pushes his way into the B7 square, using all 4 steps, So then the gold horse is safer, and then the eastern gold horse is the eastern gold horse though is still in trouble. So if the western gold horse pushes over into the b7 square, then Tuks can take one step to shore up the c6 trap, so he doesn't lose anything to a capture, and then use two steps to pull the gold horse further into the hostage position. He could pull the gold horse back into the g6 square while the camel retreats along with that pull, and that would, I think, lose gold the opportunity he had to bail out of that hostage situation on the eastern wing. So I'm sort of feeling, even though I can't work out the tactics immediately, I'm sort of feeling like gold needs to bail out of the hostage situation immediately. I apologize for my scratchy voice. I yelled a bit too much when I was out playing Frisbee yesterday. Omar, could you give a few thoughts while I get myself a glass of water? I'll be right back.
Yeah, no problem, Karl. I'll take over for a little while here. Yeah, so as Karl was saying, probably the best thing for gold to do here would be to retreat the horse and push the dog onto c6. But Tuks here has decided to do something not quite like that, but instead something I think which is a little bit more dangerous. He's taken 3 steps with the elephant to go over to the west wing and preventing the silver camel from moving on to the d6 square and freezing that horse. And he's only taken 1 step back with the horse that was on the east wing. So now silver here could use the camel to pull that horse right back, and in future moves take it hostage and maybe perhaps even threaten it to capture in f6. So I think
I'm with you there, Omar. That's the first thing I saw. With Tuks retreating only 1 square, he has taken a very good attacking square on d6 with his elephant. That's very nice that for the attack on c6. And silver has got to be scared about c6, with the horse already there in attack position, and with the gold camel threatening to come into b6. So it's a very nasty looking attack. But on the other hand, gold's horse can just be retaken as hostage, and the gold elephant isn't there to help it anymore. So I'm not sure what gold would do if silver says, I'm going to ignore your attack for the moment and just counterattack, just take 1 move to retake your horse hostage. It will take gold at least all 4 of his steps to free his gold horse again. And so it can't really lose any time for silver to pull that horse right back to g5. The fastest way, after the gold horse is pulled back to g5, the fastest way to free it would be to advance the rabbit twice, and then you need 2 steps to bring the horse over and back to the f4 square. And so if you did that, you would be trading 3 steps for 4. It wouldn't cost you any time. And if you decide, after having done that maneuver, you decide, you know what, I really need to defend c6 anyway, then you're in fine shape. Oh, and I just saw the 4th step. After pulling the horse back to g5, the 4th step could be to pop the cat out to f5. So 3 steps to advance the camel, put the camel back on g6, horse on g5, and then advance the cat 1 square. And then the gold elephant would have to, I don't see a way to defend that tactic other than the gold elephant coming right back to save the horse.
So he does exactly that.
Okay, so what I would predict now is that the gold elephant comes back to save his horse. But Tuks is such an attacker, I have to think about some attacking moves here. Maybe he will say, rather than losing my, or rather than bailing out on my attack, I'm gonna need to let's see, push the horse into c6 or the camel, so horse into c7 or camel into b6. Those are his two big attacking options. If he puts the horse into c7, and then he could use 2 steps to either bring his camel up as well, that would be the maximum attack, or he could use 2 steps to advance a rabbit and unfreeze his horse, so that after his attack, if silver defends the c6 trap, then the gold horse will be able to retreat.
Now, what about
boy,
the
the tactics are crazy.
possibility?
I'm glad it's not me playing this king.
Well, what about the possibility of the elephant just coming back and pushing that cat to f4?
Yep, that would definitely endanger the silver cat. But then the gold horse would be hanging. So the silver elephant would just have to take 1 step sideways to the d6 square, and then I don't see how gold could defend the c6 trap. So if the gold elephant comes back on defense that way, he might be just losing a horse for a cat.
Right, yeah, that's what I was thinking, is he might end up having to just take a cat in exchange for that horse now.
Well, it worked for me against Adinak. I lost a horse for a cat in the opening and came back to win, but I really don't recommend that as a general strategy. Another thing he could do, if he's just feeling like he has to bail on this, he could try and get a dog for his horse. Get that c7 dog. He could push the c7 dog with his horse twice, threatening to capture it in c3. But he's also threatening the c6 dog if he just pushes it into the trap. Then he's threatening it just by the fact that it is sitting in c6, because it would only be then defended by the silver horse on b6. And so it would be in danger, and if silver took the gold horse right away, it would lose a dog. And the compensation, okay, we've got a horse for a dog, and gold has a little bit of an attack, so there's a slight bit of positional compensation, but I would certainly rather be silver here. Looks like silver has an advantage either way, whether Tuks chooses to defend or to counterattack. And if Tuks is in trouble either way, with the defense or with the counterattack, then I probably expect the counterattack, just because that psychologically Tuks prefers the attack. But maybe tactically, the one move that I'm still looking at tactically is pushing the horse into c7 and then advancing a gold rabbit twice. Because if the gold rabbit twice to the g4 square, because then in order to save his cat, Chessandgo needs 2 steps to pull the horse away, pull the horse perhaps down into g6. And so with 2 steps required there, interesting to me that Tuks split that move the way he did. Okay, well, with just 1 step with his rabbit to g3, he is threatening to get his horse free. So that is a threat. What surprises me most, though, is his 4th step. If he only used 1 step with his rabbit, and that rabbit's step was threatening to free his horse, I'm surprised that he used his last step on his dog rather than on his camel. I would have thought that the 4th step would be camel from b3 to b4 to get the attack going a little bit more. And now Chessandgo has accepted the trade. Tuks very quickly advances his camel, and he does not, this is important, he does not pull the horse away. He could have pulled the horse out of b6. And the idea of pulling the horse would be to say, I'm going to bring my horse back to this side, bring that silver horse back down to the c trap. And from the c3 trap, I'll have a threat in both traps. I'll have a threat going in c6 and a threat going on c3. But instead, he occupies b6 with his camel, and the idea of occupying b6 is a swarm. he's going to take control of c6 with little pieces and free his elephant. So his elephant will not be bound to c6, and he'll have the strongest free piece. That's the strategy he committed to by taking in the way that he took. The silver elephant here, right now, silver has a general strategy. The general strategy is to attack up the east faster than the gold attack is coming in the west. To that end, I'm astonished by that last step with the dog. The idea behind that dog step is to create a hostage square for the camel, so he can push the camel back to take a hostage, or maybe he didn't dog framed. I'm not really sure what that last step was about. But what I'm seeing for gold is I'm seeing swarming attack, and when I'm facing a swarming attack, just my gut reaction is I don't want to move any pieces backward. I'm looking at a gold attack. Oh, maybe his idea was he didn't want his dog framed in c6, so he was afraid that the gold horse would flip the silver dog into c6, framing it, and then that there would be a rotation of the gold pieces out, and so that the gold dog would rotate up to c6, up to d6, and the gold elephant would rotate out, leaving it with the frame. Personally, I don't think that would have been a great strategy for gold anyway, and I don't think it was worth a step to prevent it. I think as gold, I would just swarm anyway. So the idea for gold is to relieve his elephant of defensive duty there. Oh my. Okay, I don't like move 13G. On 13G, Tuks has framed the silver horse in the c6 trap. Well, what is he going to get out of a frame? What's the idea behind framing that horse? The only thing that a frame could get you is he could free his elephant. I mean, the idea is, okay, I pinned the opposing elephant. The silver elephant cannot move. And so the silver elephant is tied down. But so what? The silver elephant can't move, but the gold elephant can't move either. We don't have another gold horse to come in there and complete that frame. So since gold can't complete the frame, he can't free his elephant, and if the gold elephant can't be free, can't go run around, then the frame is worthless, and it doesn't matter that the silver elephant is pinned. So what gold should have done instead on move 13, at least in my mind, is that he should have been swarming small pieces forward. The only way for the gold elephant to become free is not with a frame, but with a swarm. So the gold needed to be just charging pieces forward. Silver in the east has a horse and a camel, and there's just this really thin gold fence in the east. If you look in the F, G, and H columns, gold only has rabbits. And if you look what else he has for defense, that's even a little bit further away, it's just cats and dogs. So with that silver horse and silver camel, very strong attack. I expect on 13S, I expect the silver horse to move into the G3 square immediately, pushing the gold rabbit into F3. So with the gold, with an attack, he pushes the rabbit back. That's probably even better, both for trap control and for gold attack. So silver is threatening the F2 rabbit immediately. The G4 rabbit is indirectly threatened with capture in F6. And what is gold going to do to stop it? What is gold's plan here? He's got the horse frame, and he can't get his elephant out of the horse frame. He could run down with his horse to the F4 square, with his elephant to the F4 square, and then we would see silver lickety-split retake control, take the gold camel hostage, and retake control of the C4 trap. In order to prevent the C6 trap, in order for gold to prevent silver from instantly retaking control of the C6 trap when the gold elephant leaves, then he needs more pieces there to help. It's just safety in numbers. So when I was going back to talking about how did Tuks take the dog, what was the method Tuks used in order to capture the silver dog, he pushed his camel into b6, and I was saying that committed to him to a swarm. But instead of swarming, he did a frame, and I think the frame was the wrong choice. And silver's attack is very, very fast now. It's almost, gold is almost compelled to come back with his elephant now on this move immediately. But if the gold elephant comes back immediately, then the silver horse steps out of the trap, steps into the d6 square that the gold elephant vacates, and then the silver elephant takes the gold camel hostage on the a6 square, threatening to take a horse immediately. And gold does not have the little pieces there, does not have the wherewithal to contest that trap. Could take a horse, lose a horse. I mean, that's just a horse for a horse trade. But then the gold elephant would have to come right back to prevent his hostage camel from being lost. Gold is quite a bit of trouble here already. Down a horse for a camel and in positional difficulty as well. So now the swarm begins. One move too late, I fear, but still a reasonable idea. On 14G, Tuks advances his dog up the A file 3 squares, takes one move to prevent losing a piece on the F3 trap. Now, if I were silver, silver here has a free rabbit. You know, that rabbit that's on G4 is defenseless. Gold does not have the ability to contest the F6 trap. So silver could push that rabbit back, but I don't like it. I don't think that's a good move to take that, because silver has a better plan. Yes, silver could increase his material advantage in this position. Yes, he could be up a horse and a dog for the rabbit, but chessandgo does what I would have recommended he do, namely advance the silver rabbit up the H file. The only thing is, I don't understand why he didn't advance it one more. So now he advances that dog to claim space. Chessandgo sees the swarm coming. He sees that that there's going to be some kind of rotation of forces. He's thinking ahead to when, okay, what if the gold elephant would leave now? Well, then I want to take the gold camel hostage on the A6 square. And if I take the gold camel hostage on the A6 square, I don't want to push it into A7 because it's unfrozen by the gold dog. So I'm going to prevent it from pushing into A7 by bringing my silver dog to the B7 square. Notice that that's the same silver dog that's now claiming space was retreating earlier. So I'm not sure about that step. But anyway, silver has a goal in one move step. He did advance his rabbit far enough, so there's only 4 steps from gold. So now gold has to take at least one step to stop at least one step to stop a goal from happening immediately. He takes 2 steps to shore up his defensive position, and then the final step to take the A6 square, so that now when the gold elephant leaves, silver has no good hostage square for the gold camel. So we're already seeing some effect of the gold swarm. This is what happens when you swarm, is that now when the gold elephant leaves, he does not lose control of the trap as quickly as he would have lost control of the trap before. Now gold has more defensive options when he leaves. So silver is still in an enormous hurry. He's trying to get there as fast as he can with his attack before his position in the west deteriorates further. And I think a fairly good fast attacking move is for the silver horse to take the F2 square, pushing the rabbit away, and then the cat comes up to F4, and so we've got a strong trap threat, and the idea is that the silver camel is going to join the fray. The silver camel is going to jump in and take over the F2 square. Another idea would be to bring that horse around to or bring the cat directly through, and have the cat take over the F2 square immediately. Might be even a stronger threat. And so if there's a trap control fight here, I don't see how. So there's a goal attack, and then there's a trap control fight. Silver, in terms of improving his position as fast as he can play for goal attack, trap control, or goal attack. And he plays for the material win. Oh my goodness. Okay. So this quite surprises me. Yes, it is true. That gold rabbit is a dead duck. On move 15, Silver pulled a rabbit, and I don't think that gold can save it. The gold elephant, the best way to maybe save the gold rabbit would be for the gold elephant to come back to f4, threatening the horse, with more attack to follow. To me, it looks like this rabbit is not worth the time it takes to capture it. So the silver probably wanted to keep attacking as fast as he could to slow down the gold swarm. Now, there is a massive trap control threat here. The silver threat now is for the silver elephant to come to f2 and the silver rabbit to come to g3. And so there's a move in the trap control fight that wasn't available to Chess and Go the move before, and incidentally, I must add, would have been available to Chess and Go if he had advanced his rabbit one more square on the move instead of advancing the dog that he had retreated before. Never mind that now. So there's quite a threat, and gold might want to shore up his defensive position here, might want to occupy the f3 trap so that the trap control fight doesn't look so bad. But no, he decides to come back with his elephant immediately on move 16g. And now that there's an extra dog participating in the gold swarm up there in the northwest, silver cannot immediately take the gold camel hostage, cannot immediately retake trap control in that fashion. He can move his horse out of the trap and push through the trap with his elephant so that the elephant comes through the trap and take the horse hostage. He could do that, but then the gold camel would still be free to participate in the fight for trap control, and gold then could come up with to the c5 square, for example, and then have a dog, camel, horse, rabbit, all participating in the trap control fight there, and it would take a few moves before silver retakes control of that trap. But that's all that he can do. Silver. So silver is not all that silver can do. He can do the trap control fight around f3. He could still, push his silver horse into the f3 square. He could run away, so he could use part of his steps to save his horse. Like he could just tuck his horse in the h2 square and say, it'll take you so long to take that horse that I can use my other steps in the trap control fight. But strategically, he really does need to retake control of c6 as fast as he can possibly retake control of c6. He wants to win the race here, some kind of capture race, and his timing in the race has been slowed down by the gold dog advancing. So pushing the camel is a reasonable choice for silver rather than pushing the horse, because the camel is now frozen. The camel can't participate in the trap control fight as easily. If I were gold here, I would probably use another move. I would to continue in the trap control fight. I would get my rabbit up to, so advance the rabbit from b2 to b3, and then get my rabbit up to the c5 square. And with the rabbit on the c5 square, then if silver continues the trap control fight, I have bought myself more time. The rabbit on c5 would be buying time. One of the captures that silver would be making in this capture race would be he would be capturing just a rabbit. And if he's capturing just a rabbit, then that's buying me more time. I'm sacrificing that rabbit as gold while I'm trying to clean up around the f3 trap. Another thing that gold could do is he could take the silver horse with 3 of his steps, use another step maybe to advance a rabbit, and then come back on the next move come back with his elephant to c6. So trade a horse for a horse. It's a good idea when trading pieces when you're in trouble is generally a good idea because the board gets wild and open and you never know what's going to happen on an open board. So the person that's behind is often benefited by equal trades. But here, I think on 17G, I think Gould's best idea is to spend another move on the fight. Wow, I said put a rabbit on c6. Tuks has gone whole hog to put a dog on c6. Looks to me like he's trying to say, I'm not going to lose this fight for anything. I mean, I'm not going to race you. It's not like I'm going to try and capture more in f3 than you capture in c6. He's instead saying, I'm not going to lose this fight at all. You're never going to capture anything in c6. I'm just going to keep on swarming. Now, whether he can do that or not is not clear to me at all. One of the things about this position here is that taking the dog away from f3 raises the interesting possibility that because nice move by chessandgo on move 18G just shows that why it should have been a rabbit rather than a dog on c5. I didn't see that immediately, but now if there was a rabbit on c5, Gould could just take a horse in exchange for losing his rabbit. But since there's a dog on c5, he can take a horse in exchange for his dog, and then his elephant has to come back anyway to defend c6. And when his elephant comes back anyway, nothing around f3. He stripped that trap. So it turned out just tactically, because Silver had that nice tactic, that it should have been a rabbit participating in the swarm, not the dog participating in the swarm. So with this move, Tuks has now equalized material, and it'll be a horse and a dog for a horse and a dog, but there's going to be a Gould rabbit lost. And the main strategy that Tuks has now is once the Gould elephant gets back there on defense to help defend c6, then the Gould camel will be free. So the Gould camel will have to run around and stop the position in the east from collapsing. And we'll have camel versus camel in the east. We'll have elephant versus elephant in the west. And it'll be the position will slow down from the major excitement that we've had up until this point. So the trade has occurred. Now 3 steps for the Gould elephant to get back on defense. The best square for the Gould elephant is usually the d6 square, not the c5 square. But by doing it the way he did it, he bought his camel one more step by immediately unfreezing the camel. Now the camel is just 4 steps away from the e3 square, so the camel will get back in time to prevent losing anything more in f3. And we can say, how's the situation here? Tuks is only down by a rabbit. It could have been worse. So the Gould camel now, after the rabbit has been captured on move 19s, the Gould camel has a choice between f4 and e3. I would say probably f4. Why not? Threaten the cat. Just incidentally, it limits Silver's choices. Then the Silver camel will have to advance into the rabbit. Without captures, Gould has enough material down there that Silver is not going to be able to force a goal without capture. And the Gould camel is going to stop that from being captured. So this game is a lot of moves from being over. People were talking in the chat room about their move prediction contest. People, enter how many moves they have, who they think is going to win, and how many moves they think it's going to take him to win. And with the way this opening was just turning into a slugfest, and chessandgo having a nice advantage right out of the opening, people who bet on chessandgo to win in 40 moves or 50 moves were saying that it looked like it would be over a lot faster than that. But look where the position is headed now. It's headed towards camel versus camel on one wing, elephant versus elephant on the other wing. That's a very stalemate-ish position. That's a position where it's going to be difficult for either side to make progress. So even though chess and go is obviously winning, there'll be a lot of play left in this game. It's going to be a while before there's any kind of breakthrough. So Tuks used his allotted 90 seconds, or actually 94 seconds, to choose f4 for his camel rather than e3. And now, with that horse hostage over there, there's a pretty clear general strategy here for both sides. But for gold, the strategy is probably clearer, and that is he has to swarm the c6 trap. There's not a lot of ammunition he has left to do the swarm. His camel is needed on the defense. His horse and dog are both held hostage. All that he has left to swarm with is rabbits and maybe a cat. Okay, so that's it. That's it for the ammunition that Tuks has. But still, that's his only strategy, is a swarm. And if he does successfully pull off the swarm somehow and frees his elephant, I mean, the silver elephant isn't going anywhere. That silver elephant cannot leave, because gold has so much firepower in that corner that it would turn into catastrophe. So now the silver camel has committed to offense. I would probably, as gold, go ahead and take a couple of steps to build the phalanx on the b2 square, but it isn't necessary. The silver camel is not breaking through. That silver rabbit on h2 is not a gold threat, and so here comes the swarm, just like I predicted for Tuks. I probably would have used all my moves to advance rabbits rather than using 2 to reposition the elephant, because repositioning the elephant does allow that silver horse to just jump right out on the offense. Kind of a waste of time in the race, if you ask me. Yeah, okay, there is a threat to the silver cat here. At 21S, silver is going to have to use at least 1 move to defend his cat. But it costs 2 steps to get that 1 move retreat. And it allows silver to just jump right out on the get-go with his horse. And the horse, where that silver horse would like to be, that silver horse would like to be on the b3 square. So on 21S, the horse can already just jump straight out to the b4 square, threatening to get into b3. And the silver gold attack is probably strong enough that the silver camel can't leave. So much for gold strategy of swing and silver strategy of trying to take space and stop it. What is silver strategy here? Well, I like what's going on there with the moves so far, and that is to get a swarm going as well. You could say, well, what advantage is it to silver if silver gets a swarm going? One advantage is it could free the silver camel. Another advantage is, though, if there is enough of a gold threat around f3. I said that the silver elephant can't leave. Well, it's not 100% he can't leave. He could leave and things would deteriorate rapidly, but it wouldn't instantly be gold. What if he left and then after he left, there would be a rapid silver gold attack? Boy, so gold has taken all of move 22G to try and slow down the silver gold attack. Slightly surprising to me. I would have thought the swarm was a higher priority, getting pieces forward. So the players have a little bit different priority than I have. As silver, it would still be a priority for me to get my horse activated and to start getting more pieces forward in the east. But he continues with his advance to get some kind of threat going. So both players are playing in the southwest corner. If both players are playing in that corner, my hunch has got to be, this has got to work out badly for Tuks. Both players are playing where silver wants to get something done, wants to have an advantage, wants to get a goal attack. So Tuks now can spend more moves shoring up his position. He can put his rabbit from f3 over to f2. He can bring another rabbit over. He'll bring his rabbit over from c1 over to e1. And when he has a rabbit over on e1, then he can get both of his cats involved in the defense, unfreeze his cat, on E2 unfrees that cat, but also unfreeing the cat on F1, so that if the rabbit gets pulled up or advances from G1 to G2, then the cat can get in there. So we did those 3 steps that I expected, plus one more step on the swarm. But it seems that if both players are prioritizing the southwest corner to where they both are making progress there, that it's got to advantage silver more than it does gold. Gold does have a threat to bring his elephant down to the E3 square in one move, threatening the camel, which would mean that silver couldn't immediately take anything. Silver needs to be aware of the possibility of an elephant switch. If I were silver, I would be much happier with this position if I had control of the G3 square. And it looks like Chessandgo has had the same thought that I had, bringing a cat out to try and help control the G3 square. He did, I notice, leave his rabbit hanging on F7, but if the elephant takes the rabbit on F7, there's nothing else to take, and it would be a rabbit in exchange for a horse. So we have F3 in danger, and seeing what silver is planning, I would, as gold on 24G, I said gold needed to be working on the swarm rather than playing in that wing, but the importance of the G3 square is so great, I might put my cat right on G3, and in fact that is what Tuks has done. Nice defensive move, again still keeping open some kind of option of an elephant switch going after the camel, still keeping his camel somewhat free, and I noticed that Tuks advanced his rabbit. My instinct for the F3 rabbit would have been to tuck it into H3, stop the silver rabbit from advancing. But Tuks is so much of an attacker. He decided, well, what the heck, maybe one step further. Silver doesn't have so much defense in that wing. Maybe if I get an advanced rabbit, I'll be able to make some counter threats. Or if I have an advanced rabbit on that wing, Chessandgo won't be able to leave rabbits hanging like he just did on F7. My elephant would switch wings and have an immediate goal attack going. So that's probably the better move. I think Tuks made a better move than I would have by advancing that rabbit. And it was very nice of him to see the importance of the F3 square, of the G3 square for the trap control fight. And there's even a danger to silver here of the silver cat being threatened in the C3 square. The gold elephant could well, I guess the gold elephant probably shouldn't pull it to D5, because then it forces the horse to come out, which is what the horse wanted to do anyway. Okay, we have some general advancing move from the silver. One of the things, the implied threat of this move is to flip the G4 rabbit, flip the G4 rabbit into the F5 square, and then the G4 rabbit is kind of trapped in and in danger of attack. Also, it's good to just have general pieces forward in this kind of position. Swarming is a generally good idea, so I approve of that. I remain surprised that silver has not wanted to activate his horse. So he's just keeping his horse there on C7. But he's been doing enough in the east to prevent the gold swarm in the west, so it seems to be working. We're waiting for move 25G. We're waiting for Tuks to try and come up with a strategy here. I think that he will have difficulty threatening anything in C3. The strategy that comes to mind first is, for me always, is I look at captures. Can I threaten to capture something somewhere? One idea is to go after the silver cat and try and get the silver cat in C3. I don't think that's a great plan, because it just invites the silver horse and silver rabbits forward in a more swarm. Another possibility here on 25G is for the gold elephant to come to the F3 square, threatening to take the camel. Gold would have a very nice game, I think, if gold just said, you can have my camel in exchange for a horse and a dog, and then would be in a nice endgame position. So with more pieces, you'd actually have then a dog and a rabbit for the camel because he's ahead by a horse, and in such an endgame that would be an overwhelming material advantage. So what remains for gold to do, the only thing I can think of for gold to do is to start advancing. He could advance the rabbit up to from C2, he could advance the rabbit to C4. He could, let's see, he could get his cat over on the defense, he could get his cat over to G1 from F1 while advancing his rabbit there. That would be a nice defensive step, and eventually could
Oh man, what happened? Connection went dead. Yeah. See, it's not working. Crap. Upstairs and reboot that box. No, that doesn't kill the connection.
Can't install the host. But it's beyond. Did you try reconnecting?
Just go upstairs and yeah. That's it. Oh yeah, go ahead and do it. Did you do it this morning?
What? No, because it worked.
Okay, hurry up and do that.
amusing opportunity here for silver to get a gold threat on the other side. Now the eastern wing is so depleted that the silver cat could pop up one step. Silver rabbit could come around all the way to C4 if necessary. If coming to C4 is too far, it could instead go to B5. So just advance the cat 1 here on move 27S, and then the rabbit could swing over to the side. Okay, I realize now as I'm suggesting that move that it does open a column up the middle for the gold rabbit to advance on. So maybe have to be a little bit more cautious than I thought. Another way of counterattacking, increasing the pressure without opening the middle would be to look at that C8 rabbit. And chessandgo has looked at that C8 rabbit and pulled it all the way to C5. So now the defense is, gold defense is collapsing really, really thin. The gold elephant could perhaps come upon defense a little bit, the gold elephant could push into the C4 square, pushing the rabbit from C5 back to C6. When we're talking about pushing rabbits back, we know we're in the final throes of the end game. Yep, Tuks does choose the defensive move that I've suggested. So there's still some tactics to be had, but it's like holding back the tide now. The silver rabbits that you push back can just re-advance. The silver cat can probably afford to go to the D3 square. It looks a little bit dangerous, but the C6 rabbit could follow it up. So from C6, the rabbit can come out to D6, D5, and then when the cat advances to D3, that rabbit could advance all the way to D4. And chessandgo chooses that, except he moves the cat sideways instead of moving the cat to D3. I would frankly have just kept piling everything forward. And on D3, well, it's all good. So with the cat not on d3, we have the possibility for the gold rabbit to advance d2 to d3, and then the other gold rabbit to stop the rabbits from switching wings. So now from a3, the rabbit can move to c4, which wouldn't have worked if the cat were on d3. So now I'm seeing, for gold, I'm seeing rabbit from a3 to c4, and rabbit from d2 to d3. And the idea is to stop a rabbit from switching wings over to where you have no defense on the A and B files, and also get your own rabbit forward. There could be just some amazing egregious blunder here. But it slows down the attack somewhat, maybe gives some possibility for the gold camel to get back in on the defense or do something else. So Tuks has plenty of, but both players have been moving quickly and have plenty of time in reserve. And Tuks is using his full time here on 29G. But I don't see a great way to stop. There's two alleys. That rabbit on D4 has two ways to advance. One way to advance is to switch wings and get down the B file. The other way to advance is to go straight ahead, and the silver cat can pull out pull out a rabbit to get the rabbit in there up the middle. I'm seeing a comment here from Move 29G from the chat room. Adenak is suggesting silver cat to f4 being pulled by the gold camel to get the camel around into the middle for defense. Well, that's another interesting idea. The camel is a strong defender, and there's so much weak stuff. We've got all kinds of cats and rabbits around there clogging up the southeast corner. And so getting the gold camel over to help defend in the west is a reasonable idea. If the gold camel is forced to switch west, then the silver camel could also switch west, because it's just cats versus cats on the other side, and we're still holding back the tide. But it is another way to stop that silver rabbit from switching over to the B file. Another way to slow it down. Also, another virtue of Adenak's suggested move from the chat room, and to be clear, the move we're suggesting is the camel comes down 4 to f3, pulling the cat behind it into the f4 square, so that the rabbit on e3 can advance to e4, and then from clearing up the e3 square, we get the gold camel into e3. Another virtue of that move is it gets a gold rabbit further forward. And so in addition to holding the fort at home, there is another advanced gold rabbit that could maybe do something. And the centralized camel is strong on defense. So we now have two defensive moves on the table. I wonder what Tuks is contemplating. He's thought on this move for now 4 minutes, and it's a good move to think for 4 minutes on, because he's in a world of trouble. Getting the camel to 3, I'm trying to look whether that allows a advance of the, yeah, so it wouldn't let the silver rabbit get over to b4, because there would be nothing to unfreeze the silver rabbit. Once it moved to c4, there would be nothing to unfreeze it and get it to b4. Oh my goodness, Tuks is really dipping into his reserve here. He's down to 20 seconds left, and I hope he's not been disconnected. It would be a shame for the game to end that way. Nope, he was not disconnected, and in fact he chose Adenak's move. Very nice. So he has stopped the immediate goal threat from breaking through. So what to do with silver in response? I would like to, as silver in general, I would like to say, now that the camel is not there to stop my goal attack, I'd like to get a goal in the southeast. Or I'd like to try and retake control of the f3 trap. If I could somehow make a threat there to pin the camel down, get a rabbit advanced, H. But it may be possible in this position. I mean, it looks like Silver's position is strong enough that he could just continue the attack up the middle. For example, a consolidating move that would bring more pieces forward for the attack, but would also discourage any kind of counterattack, would be to rotate the silver dog up to C7 and the silver horse right up the middle. Silver horse up the middle to the once the horse would be on the D5 square. With the silver horse on D5, then the silver rabbit would be again switching, threatening to switch wings. So you'd get some gold defense. Maybe not even have the dog come to C7, but rather have the dog come to D8 in case things open up. The important part of that move is the silver elephant, the silver horse coming up the middle as another attacker, because all silver needs here is another piece to unfreeze the rabbit from C4 so it can get to D4. Maybe I have been underestimating the possibility of getting the rabbit to B4 anyway, because the rabbit could move to C4, the rabbit on D4 could move to C4, and then the rabbit that is currently on E5, oh no, the rabbit that's currently on E5 can't jump into D4 to unfreeze it because it would be frozen by the elephant on the way by. So we need some more advancing. I would recommend probably advancing the horse rather than anything else, rather than swinging the rabbit around. It would be possible to advance a rabbit H file. I don't think it would be a bad move to pull a rabbit up the H file. So to take the H3 square and then bring another rabbit around to the H4 square, from G6 up to H4, while the other rabbit is there, that presents some interesting possibilities on the goal attack, forcing rabbits forward. As you create space, gold would have to occupy that one hole of space. So right now there's one space on the back row, and another idea is to prevent gold from taking that space on G1 square. So right now there's a hole on G1, but that hole can be filled by moving the cat over from F1 to G1 and then following up with the rabbit to fill the hole. But if silver were to pull the gold rabbit forward from E1, E2, then the gold cat would be frozen, would be no longer able that hole. And this would be combined with advancing rabbits up the H file. And then it's this sort of a space-grabbing strategy to where you're ultimately trying to get a rabbit into the G2 square, following it up with another rabbit, and since there's nothing to unfreeze it or stop it, I think that goal attack could actually work. I see from the forum we have a suggestion of pulling out that G4 rabbit. That silver could pull out the G4 rabbit and with a strong threat to capture it, since gold has no way of contesting F6. That also looks like a very, very nice plan, very strong plan. Gold isn't doing anything. I mean, there's nothing going on for gold, so that silver would have to worry about being in a big hurry and would knee down and not take that rabbit immediately. So chessandgo also fought for 4 minutes and 40 seconds. Both of them had a super long think on that last move, and chessandgo decided to move forward, but not moving forward with his horse. He goes back to what my first instinct was long ago, which was saying, hey, if the gold camel is leaving to go to the west, then my camel can leave to go there too. Actual move he's chosen is kind of weird because it allows a frame. The silver cat can be framed in F3 immediately, although, yes, the silver camel can break that frame, but that would just be a repetition of position. Maybe the frame isn't so bad because the f4 rabbit that would be pinned to the cat in f3 is not accessible, so that gold can't knock out the one defender of f3. But still, it seems like the frame here is a reasonable delaying tactic for gold, and we're still not to the point where that silver rabbit has anything to unfreeze it to let it to get over to the b4 square. We also have to worry if with the silver rabbit, with the silver camel switching wings, if that's the strategy that silver chooses, we have to be worried about tactics when the switch occurs and gold could just give up his horse and dog in exchange for taking some material. So if that happens and the gold elephant leaves the c6 trap in order to come down to take a silver camel, let's say the silver camel has moved over to c2 as part of this switching wings. So if the gold elephant comes down there to threaten the camel that's sitting on c2, then the frame of the silver cat would provide an additional threat at that time, meaning that the material fight might go a little bit more in gold's favor at that point. Not sure what all other strategies gold has at this point. The attack is pretty severe in the southwest corner. You can't really leave that corner with anything or rotate anything out. The idea of getting a gold rabbit onto c4, I liked that before. That still seems all right. Tuks is probably thinking about trying to get some kind of counterattack going. Okay, so interesting move by Tuks. He's provided some defense for the c3 trap, shoring things up generally here. Seems reasonable to me. The rabbit can now advance. So with the help of the silver camel here, silver camel could come over to the c2 square, pulling the rabbit from d3 back to d2, and the silver rabbit could advance. If that's what's going to happen, I think the silver horse should have been up there anyway. The silver horse would be nice as a helper on the d5 square. But oh well, so if that happens, then the gold elephant is probably going to be required for defense. Or could the gold camel just push the rabbit back? See, what silver is missing here is gold doesn't have enough defenders. Aha! So now we finally have the silver horse advance, and that advance is going to allow a threat of a rabbit crossing to the b file. Humorous thing, though, is now the gold rabbit can come to c4, stopping that up so that we can't get over to the b file. Maybe that's not good enough because it blocks off the path for the gold elephant, assuming that the gold elephant wanted to come back and switch sides at an opportune moment in order to have some kind of race. Excuse me there. Well, when it's gold's turn to move, I'm having a lot harder time thinking of a good move than when it's silver's turn to move. The silver seems to hold all the cards here and have the option of trying to win either slowly or quickly. The pulling out a rabbit for capturing f6 still seems like a very reasonable opportunity. Chessandgo is going for the direct win rather than the slow material win like I always do. And I can't blame him for it because it seems to be the slow crush seems to be taking away all of gold's opportunities. We have another suggestion from the chat room on move 31G. Rabbit on c4 and d2. So we have the suggestion, like I said, put the rabbit from the b3 square up into the d4 square to stop a rabbit from switching wings, to stop a silver rabbit to getting over to the totally naked A file and B file. But the other part of the move is to use 2 steps to get the rabbit from E1 up to D2. That's the suggestion from Arimaa. And the purpose of having that rabbit on D2 rather than where it is sitting on E1 is that it prevents the silver camel from pulling out the D3 rabbit, pulling the D3 rabbit back and advancing up the middle. So Tuks has chosen a different plan of defense, rotating his cats around. Now the default, I mean, I wouldn't look at any else before I looked at getting a rabbit over to the A4 square with a threat to just goal on its side. On 31S, silver rabbit from D4 to C4, then rabbit up from D5 to D4. The silver rabbit is then unfrozen, gets over to the B file, can get all the way over to the A file. So I don't know why, unless there's some devastating other move, I don't know why I wouldn't do that. Gold does have a threat here. I mean, his threat is to push back the rabbit from F4 to F5, and then he's retaken trap control and can start capturing silver pieces in F3. Yeah, that is fine in theory, but we've got a goal attack coming real fast, and that goal attack getting the rabbit over onto the A file, I believe it requires the elephant to abandon C6. And if the elephant abandons C6 to stop that goal, there go a horse and a dog. And so what you're going to capture in F3 while you're losing your horse and a dog is probably not going to compensate that. I'm wondering why chessandgo, since chessandgo seemed to be planning this on his previous move, since that seemed to be his whole idea here before, I'm wondering why he isn't quickly getting his rabbit over to the A file. Maybe the answer to the mystery is, why should you move quickly when you've got a lot of reserve, when you've got a tense position, you've got a dominating position? It would be just silly to throw it away by moving quickly. Tuks, on the other hand, has already burned through all of his reserve, trying to think of ways to counterattack or defend, prolong the game, get something going. Tuks now only has 48 seconds in reserve, and will be relying just on the 90 gets on every move to play from here on out. Let me thank our sponsors once again. We have we're very fortunate here on Arimaa to have physical sets being manufactured by Z-Man Games, and Z-Man Games is also contributing to the prize fund that these players are competing for. Board Games for Us has also contributed to the prize fund with coupons redeemable for games. It's been pointed out in the chat room by Arimaa that moving a rabbit to A4 does not in fact goal immediately, because we can have a shift of the gold pieces across, rabbit from D3 to C3, camel from E3 to D3 to redefend the trap, and then both of the rabbits hurt to plug up the A and B files. I hadn't seen that defense myself. I'm thanking the sponsors here a little bit prematurely because I thought the game was all over. And then it's nice that cat has gotten further forward. Okay, so chessandgo didn't get the rabbit all the way over to the A file, and why not? It's just as strong a threat from the B file. It requires that same defense that we were just talking about on 32G, of shifting the camel and both rabbits over, unless, of course, the elephant is going to abandon the C6 trap. And if the elephant is the C6 trap, we are talking about losing a horse and dog in exchange for a rabbit or two. So if we have the defense of shifting the camel and both rabbits over, that last step that chessandgo made, advancing rabbit one more step from H4 to H3, say, well, maybe without your camel on that wing, my camel on this wing can produce a winning goal attack. One thing silver could do in response, for example, is pull the cat out of the f3 trap and reoccupy the f3 trap with his own cat, just to realign his pieces, or to come through and push the cat back, rotating the silver cat down a square. Yeah, now that I look at it, there's a pretty strong goal threat here. If gold uses all 4 steps to defend over on the east, then we have the silver cat moving down into the G1 square, and the silver camel coming into F2, pulling the rabbit off of the back rank up to E2. So that would be goal in 2, because the back rank would have no more defenders, and we'd be threatening to pull out from that square. Okay, Tuks has used his elephant to defend, and he's also threatening F3. He's going to capture a cat in F3, potentially. That defense that I talked about, that attack is still very interesting. For silver, I would still think about here moving my cat down to the G1 square, and then using my camel to F2, pulling forward the rabbit in order to have that goal in 1 threat. Just because I don't see a way of defending that goal in 1 threat without bringing the camel all the way back. And then when you start taking pieces, that horse and dog over in the C6 trap, you're not up against, you're not losing something at F3 at the same time. So you're taking without losing. Another possibility here for silver is he can unfreeze his rabbit on the B4 square and advance it all the way down to A2. That also doesn't lose any time, because it's going to require the gold elephant to come all the way down there and defend it. And would it in fact, no, it wouldn't in fact win on the spot, because the gold elephant can come down to B2 to defend it. So that's either one of those would be a strong 4-step attack, and he could do both of them. So now it seems that gold is forced to move his on 33G with that rabbit sitting on A2, 1 step away from gold. The gold elephant has to come back to the B2 square to stop that, using all 4 steps. 1 step to get the B3 rabbit to A3 out of the way of the elephant to defend on the proper square. If the elephant comes down to defend from A3, freezing it from behind, then the silver camel just runs over, unfreezes it, and it's goal. So that forces all, that's all 4 steps in the east, and then silver could do his other 4 steps in the west, that goal attack that I was talking about. But it's fairly nice to first tie up the elephant here. So if we end up having the elephant stopping a goal in 1 in the west from happening, and then we force the camel to stop a goal in 1 in the east from happening, then that does at least limit all of gold's options, tie him down here. Tuks is thinking down to the wire here. I'm kind of surprised he is, because I thought he only had 1 move. And I don't know, he's got down to only 15 seconds in reserve. When there's only 1 way to stop goal, that's when you move quickly. Oh, goodness, why did he move the rabbit that way? So he moved the rabbit from B3 to C3 out of the way, and that left a way for the silver rabbit to come around and freeze it and win immediately. So gold could have held on a few more moves with the other defense. But it was looking pretty bad. The silver tide was hard to come back, and in addition to being a rabbit down, gold was going to have to concede major material here. Even if there was a way to stop the goal, there would have been quite a bit of material lost here at the end. Good fight from both players. Chess and Go got the advantage early and kept it all the way throughout. It was interesting how Tuks was able to reduce his material disadvantage, but I think that there was a key tactical error when Tuks switched wings with his elephant and ended up winning a horse for a dog. He could have instead won probably a horse for a rabbit if he had defended differently in that tactical sequence. After that tactical sequence was over, it seemed like just the slowly advancing waters. Silver was advancing and advancing slowly, and it got more and more desperate, more and more difficult for Gold to hold back that goal attack. And Gold didn't really have, with his horse and his dog both held hostage, didn't really have much opportunity to get anything going, any kind of counterattack going. And Chess and Go did not leave any openings. Congratulations to the reigning champ on an impressive victory. Congratulations also to Tuks. He finishes the World Championship. He is now eliminated, but finishes tied for 5th place. A very strong showing. He lives up to his seed, and I'm sure he'll be back next year stronger than ever. Are we going to have the players in chat for commentary?
Hey guys.
Jean, how did you feel about the game? Was there any point at which you thought you were perhaps in trouble?
I'm not sure. I don't think so, but the game was very tense, basically at all points. I think I did not get enough out of the opening. I thought I should have gained more maybe. When I logged in, you mentioned gaining a horse for a rabbit. How did you do that?
So I was looking at move 17G when the gold elephant had just switched over to the F3 trap, and Tuks on move 17G moved his dog up to C5 to help fight for the C3 trap. What I was suggesting was moving a rabbit up to C5. He can move a rabbit up there so that if you take his horse hostage, as in fact you actually did on the next move, then all he loses from the C5 square is that rabbit that he just moved there. So I'm not sure how the trap control fight would have gone. Maybe you would have felt that you couldn't afford on move 18G to take the horse hostage anymore. And if you can't afford to take the horse hostage anymore, it's a little bit unsettled.
Oh, okay, I see. I had misunderstood. I had only heard the last part of your sentence. Okay, I don't know. I just don't know.
So with the rabbit on C5, if that's in fact the way it goes, then we end up with a more materially equal situation. In fact, we end up with, if the other moves were the same, which they probably wouldn't have been, you probably would have deviated. But if the other moves had been the same, we would have ended up with a horse and a dog or a horse and 2 rabbits. And that dog down there fighting around the F3 trap makes it a much more equal contest from then out.
Yeah, I guess I could not have captured on C6, but rather moved my horse away from G3 and delayed one move, this hostaging maneuver on B7.
Yes, and then it could have been quite interesting because then on the next move, Gold has the opportunity to bring up another rabbit, unfreezing the camel, put his rabbit from C5 into C6, and get the camel unfrozen and active in defense. So it could have been an interesting situation. But perhaps you still retain control of the trap. I certainly liked him better, but it was very sharp once the elephants were on opposite sides. So if you thought you should get more out of the opening, where do you think you went wrong? Did you regret any move in the teens there?
I'm not sure. Maybe my 15S move was bad. Maybe I should have moved my horse to F2 and the cat to F4. Maybe I should have had a better grip around S3 before Gold's elephant can switch wings. I think I would have had a good goal attack and good grip on S3.
That does look like an interesting move, and that was definitely one that I was looking at in the commentary. So I was also wondering whether threatening the rabbit for capture in F6, whether perhaps you should have let the rabbit lie and charged forward with everything. But I don't know. Sometimes that doesn't work out as well as as it promises to in theory.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but in hindsight, I'm pretty unhappy with attacking that rabbit. Indeed, I think I should have attacked S3 earlier. I wanted the rabbit out of the way. Actually, that's why I push it to G4 instead of pushing it to F3 or G2. But maybe that was not the right way.
Well, very good. And in the end game, then, as you were rolling forward, did you have any worries about the counterattack or about the gold elephant switching at that point?
Yes, definitely on move 30, say before move 30G. I'm very unsure. Maybe gold is actually fine. I don't know. Maybe gold could just have moved his rabbit to E5 with his elephant to E6, and that was pretty sharp. I'm not sure how things would have turned out, but yes, the fight was very, very tense.
Yeah, it was a very exciting opening. Tuks's horse charge. I thought Tux was in a great deal of trouble even earlier, and then putting his horse on D7 looked like quite a strong move. I was quite surprised by that move, but I didn't see any way to refute that.
Well, I don't know. I was pretty happy to get this elephant to E6 and hoping to get a horse capture for something. Maybe I played bad after move 10, but I thought I should get a horse capture for a little something, and I was not unhappy with gold framing my horse on C6, but possibly I should have gotten even better than a horse for a dog. I don't know.
Yes, I think after move 10, your position was quite good. After 10S, with that threatening that horse, my thought was that Tux actually played slightly inaccurately in that tactical exchange by not retreating his own horse twice on 10G. So I thought retreating the horse twice on 10G actually justified the horse advance to D7. If he retreats from his horse from G5 to G3, and then uses his other move to get his horse into the C7 square, I thought that would have gotten him out of trouble. But I agree with you that after your move 10S, your position is quite nice, and you should come out with a material advantage there.
Actually, after the 10G you suggest, I think I would have put the horse to D7, and I think I can threaten capture on both C6 and F6. So I think this horse would be in trouble. But I was expecting to push the horse all the way to B7 on 10G. Maybe that would have been okay. I don't know. And maybe I should not have captured the horse on 11S. Maybe just moving the elephant to C5 is fine. Or to D5 or I don't know. I just don't know.
Well, you ended up with a pretty good position there after the exchange of horse for dog, and I agree with you that the horse frame was not to be feared, and so that actually probably left you in a slightly better position. So I think that it was a very interesting opening, and I didn't see that tactic that threatened horse fork after my suggested move 9S. So I'll have to analyze it some more. But maybe instead of hashing this one over anymore, we should look forward to next week I believe you're now guaranteed a pairing against Adinak in the next round. How do you feel about that game?
Basically, like all of the games, all games are very, very tough. Well, very fun as well. That would be a fun game. A fun game, I hope.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, and I hope that you guys manage to schedule it at a time that I'm awake and can do the commentary for it.
Definitely, I hope so.
Fantastic. Thanks for showing up for the post-game interview. And I don't see Tuks here, so I think that's a wrap. Thank you very much, Omar, for recording.
No problem. Thanks a lot. You're off the air now.